Hi everyone. So thank you so much for your overwhelming responses, a lot of messages, and the kind of encouragement you have given us for Insights Corner. So we received some good responses, and a lot of people reached out to access the AACR coverage last month. We understand that our coverage was bit uh, delayed, and that could happen because again this is a monthly activity. We are picking up one topic and talking about that one topic every month, so this might come a bit delayed with time, but we are gathering facts from all the spheres, and delivering all the uh, viewpoints. What is our viewpoint on the topic basically. So, without further ado, I would like to start with this month's topic, June's Insights Corner, the impact of the US tariff, or we call it, reciprocal tariffs on the global pharma company. So, this is me and Aditya. Um, Aditya is the managing director. I am partner and director for global project delivery. So if you need any information from where have we collected this all, we'll be more than happy to to talk to you, to arrange a call. So looking forward to connecting with you. Thank you. Now let's talk about the let's talk about first the executive summary. Since the new president came in the US, the to boost the US economy and then he has been bullish on promoting manufacturing in the US, get more jobs, and the first move he is the first move he takes is the introduction of reciprocal tariffs. For some countries, US government has put these tariffs on pause and are discussing trade deals. Some have been, very streamlined, but one country in particular has been impacted, which is China, on whom US has imposed up to 145% tariff. One might say that US has not imposed tariffs on the pharma products directly, but indirectly, pharma products of China, from China would definitely be affected. And then we will be covering what percentage would impact them in terms of, pharma products. So these 145% tariffs would lead to, rising cost on the raw material, equipments, disrupted supply chain, and will indeed increase the risk of drug shortages and higher prices in the US market. But these are short term, as we feel that these are some short term effects. These tariffs will also force Chinese pharmaceutical companies to reevaluate their sourcing, their supply strategy, their new markets. Now, US is also is working to boost the domestic, pharmaceutical manufacturing by promoting local production, diversifying the supply chain, and providing government support. Basically, the US pharmaceuticals now face mounting cost and heightened risk of supply chain. That is definitely it's going to be the impact. Now, let's talk about what companies are doing. So among the top 10 pharma companies, we assess top 10 pharma companies only. Among the top 10 pharma companies, Johnson& and Johnson has made the biggest commitment of $55 billion, whereas Roche has made a commitment of $50 billion, which stand out as an investment in this new world basically. With this, there is going to be a substantial or significant financial and strategic impact on these pharma companies. With one estimate, the annual cost impact is going to range between $150 million to $400 million per company. So this is huge, basically. So now let's these are like short gist of what we are going to cover in our few slides, next few slides. Now let's talk about what how China is going to, what, Chinese biopharma company will face impact of the US tariffs. It's pretty clear. Tariff rates have gone up to 145% on Chinese API and pharmaceutical products. Supply chain would be definitely disrupted. Drug prices are expected to rise in the US, so that's an impact on the US market. There's going to be definitely a shortage. Right now, the innovation partnership, between Indian and US and Chinese companies, it's definitely strong, but it is under pressure for sure. And that we have also seen in the AACR, that a lot of Chinese companies have started to invest in India, invest in US, and then produce new products, do a lot of results publication in various cancers and all that. And then we have seen that in our AACR coverage also. And but that's going to be impacted with these tariffs for sure. There's going to be retaliatory tariffs. China has already imposed their own tariffs on the US goods. Exemptions, yes, there are temporary exemptions, but these are always subject to change. We have covered, a lot of facts in the upcoming slides. Now let's talk about some of the the implications. So first, before I talk about the implications, and then the Chinese response on this, I would also like to mention about the data which we have captured from PIIE, and this data is primarily focused on tariffs and on China, US tariff on China and Chinese tariff on US. But at the moment, we have just captured US tariff impact on Chinese products. This PIIE has been tracking this for a very long time, and then they have created a beautiful graph, which talks about the Trump administration's tariffs since the first administration to this one till date. So what we have done is we have taken the data from PIIE from January 1st and have tried to see what has been the impact of or what has been the tariff changes in last 5 months basically. So in the bottom here you can see on 1st of January it was 20.10. Then government imposed 10% blanket tariffs on everything, which made it 30.8. Then again 10% tariff was put, and it became 40.8 in March. April, again, initially after 1 month in April, not much, changed after 40%. But then steeply on 10th of April, the tariff goes 100% high, and then you can see 134.7% tariffs were there on the US goods. Chinese good by the US government, and then this is directly pharma products basically, which later declined by few percentages. In the late part of April, in the mid part of April, and the early May. But in the mid May, a slight decent dip of 50%, and then that stands still till now, which is 51.1% is the tariff. Last night only, US and China announces, or US government announced that there has been a deal with China, which has been said that there has been a negotiation and deal. But I would like to say that that deal is more on the rare minerals and then rare magnets basically, which to my view will not impact much on the pharmaceutical industry for sure. But yes, it is definitely a step in the right direction, and we may see some more movements in the coming days, and then that will definitely impact the pharmaceutical world. Now let's talk about the implications for US or pharma biotech companies. There are definitely short-term gains. and there are also long-term risks. So, two short-term gains which we see are: one is lower tariff plus stimulus packages. So, government to boost their internal economy, and to boost pharma companies to establish plants in the US, then definitely they will reduce the tariffs. Tax cuts will be given to them, and then stimulus packages to promote production in the US. So definitely that is something which is going to be there, and we're going to see a lot of IPO surge and M&A surge, which is expected. Um, Example of acquisition of early stage innovators, basically. And then there are long-term risks, for sure, which is NIH budget cuts. So government has to. So you have to understand that government has to allocate some budget from the limited amount of budget they have from one place to another. So what makes it that if they are giving stimulus packages, lower inflation rates, then definitely it needs to come from somewhere, and that would probably be NIH budget cuts. There will definitely be a innovation gap, because there are definitely public sector has always supported innovation. NIH, NCI, and different other organizations have always funded smaller pharma companies, given them grants and all that, to promote innovation, and that would definitely slow down. Um, Now, in terms of this is what we have spoken about, from the US perspective. And then from China's perspective, we feel that as a long term, their strategy would be, China so far has been the manufacturer, the copier, um, and then lesser innovation and IP. But I think this would push them for a bigger or accelerated IP investments, um, domestic innovation push, which internally, and decoupling pressure from the US will also build on the self sustainability. So China has been always self-reliant, but they would be, utilizing their own products within the Chinese market, or some other, they will definitely explore some other markets for sure. Now, Octopus team has also try to see the impact in terms of the headwinds and the tailwinds for the US investments. So in the next coming slides, we will talk about what would those tailwinds and the headwinds for the US investments. So now some of the tailwinds which will promote or push harder the US investment would be reduced reliance on foreign suppliers for sure. Uh, there will be huge movement to push products in the US. Diversification of supply for raw material, basically, so raw material sourcing, basically. There will be definitely an increased self reliance, which with something which US government has in past also praised Indian government, which is talking about made in India. So that kind of a push, a local production kind of a push. New incentive packages and packages for companies will definitely be the tailwinds. Due to local production, I think there will be faster regulatory support and more regulatory supports. Less expensive, lesser risks. I think local players, or US specific productions will probably get more or better access to government schemes and contracts for sure. And then temporary relief from the tariff is something which I have discussed already. Now, moving on, and let's talk about the headwinds. So, there's always two sides to a coin, and if there are tailwinds, then there are headwinds too. And So one of the biggest, or I would say the major headwind would be the cost of raw material increases, which would majorly impact the US generic business, which used to previously rely on the Chinese API products, basically. So far, US has US pharma has been the import-driven industry. So definitely in short term, there's going to be a clear drug shortages for sure. Um, Increased prices of the generic drugs for sure. That would definitely be there, which is, in a layman, it is pretty simple. There is always we all know that there is supply chain, simple and supply and demand kind of a principle. And this is the same basically. So there will be shortage, so prices will be higher. Raw material is in shortage, prices would be high. Now, because there will be a higher drug development process cost, this could force companies to cut down on their R&D budgets. So a lesser R&D budget, impacting less impact on the innovation. It would also impact the jobs too, for sure, especially from the generics companies. But yes, there is always there is on the an upside also to this. The reason is because if innovative companies are pushing for production in the US, so there are job cuts, but there are job creations as well. There is already a huge risk of retaliatory, tariffs, which is a huge risk. We have already seen that Canada and China are doing it. A lot of European countries are talking about it, though there is a 90 days pause right now. But this could always be an eventuality. Now, self-reliance is good, but it would take time. So in the tailwinds, we spoke about self-reliance, but self-reliance does not come in a day. It takes time. It takes time for companies to establish manufacturing plants and so on and so forth. So the time between this time would make this sector very vulnerable, which we have already discussed. Cut on R&D cost, price is high, drug shortages, and so on and so forth. And this is what we are talking about, the life-saving industry, basically. So, but there are not only grim newses, there are some good newses, and let's talk about them. So these are like we analyzed data from the top 10 pharma companies. And since the tariffs have been announced, though the US government directly did not put any tariffs on the pharma companies, but pharma companies picked up the signals, basically signs and signals, and started to announce some major investments. So we have done analysis on these top 10 pharma companies and their commitments, and which you can see, like Pfizer has announced an undisclosed amount of investment, um, at least when we are recording. But yes, definitely, there like Johnson and Johnson is one of the biggest one, which is $55 billion, followed by Roche, BMS, and then so on and so forth. Among the top 10 pharma companies, some and then these investments, we have to understand this, that this investment $55 billion is not for a year. It is for a life, for a span of 5 years. Some have made a commitment for next 5 years. Some have made a commitment for 2 years more, and then more to be announced. Basically, like for example, and then if I'm correct, remembering it correctly, AstraZeneca announced $3.5 billion, but this is, I think, for some X amount of time, and they will be announcing more such measures for the US, and then more investments to come along, basically. Now let's deep dive on what each pharma company is speaking, and then and their CEOs. So moving on, let's first start with Pfizer. Um, so yeah, Mr. Albert, commented about this during the Pfizer's first quarter earning, where he emphasized that clearly stable and trade policies are essential to unlock the significant, domestic investments by Pfizer. He also mentioned that he is expecting a 150 million, tariff impact this year, 2025, um, um, on their whole year, basically, on their sales, basically. So they have committed, as I said, they have already committed some decent amount of investments, but um, uncertainties, and pause, and then push and pull kind of does not really make and then not does not really ease the pressure on the pharma companies. So in a summary, Borla's main message was that lack of certainty around the US trade policies, specifically regarding pharmaceutical tariff, is a significant barrier barrier to further domestic investment by Pfizer, and that more clarity and incentives would need to be spur for additional spending in the US manufacturing. So the message is now loud and clear from Pfizer. Now let's talk about Merck. So Merck & Co is expecting 200 million tariff cost this year, with majority of this expenses resulting from tariff enacted between US and the China. Uh, they have already invested $12 billion in the US manufacturing and R&D since 2018, and plan to invest another $9 billion by 2028. Um, the company reduced its full year, profit outlook, has moved, Merck has moved its key product inventories, including Keytruda, into the US, to prevent any supply chain disruptions. So yeah, and now let's talk about in summary. Davis said that tariffs mainly on the trade with China, are expected to add 200 million in the cost. Um, Merck has increased the US inventory. They're invested in the domestic manufacturing. Uh, Merck emphasizes that they will not increase the drug prices to offset the cost, but that would definitely be impacting their overall market look, or this year's market look. Now, let's see what Johnson& Johnson says. So J&J is expecting, in the same lines like other two, J&J is expecting 400 million impact on their this year, uh, with majority on their medtech segment, basically. This estimate includes tariff imposed on China, Mexico, Canada, along the retaliatory tariff that China has also placed on US exports. So, but they have increased their 2025 operational sales forecast to 91.6 to $92.4 billion, which is up by 700 millions from an earlier projection. Now they have, and they have committed of $55 billion in manufacturing. They're streamlining their portfolio by dropping non-strategic products and investing in the US facility. You know, but CFO, yes, in the summary, CFO Joseph Walk stated that J&J can't easily pass tariff cost to customer because of existing contract, but the company is closely tracking the impact and monitoring the policy changes to guide the future negotiation and decision. So this could definitely be there, that companies like J&J, AstraZeneca, Pfizer's of the world, Novartis of the world, at the moment they probably are not, they might not increase the or offset the cost on the customer for now, but in long terms we never know what could happen, and then how would that uh, so the government is trying to get production in the in the country, but and then get more jobs, and reduce inflation and then cost of living. But this could eventually, if correct steps are not taken, or uncertainties are not removed, then this could further, difficult the life of the people and as well as the government eventually. Now let's talk about AbbVie. AbbVie will invest $10 billion by 2035 and expand US manufacturing, include four API facilities, drug product for peptides and devices. Um, AbbVie is already strong in the US with 11 sites and 6,000 employees. Uh, their product like Skirizi are domestically produced. AbbVie raised its Q1 2025 guideline, showing confidence in operation. They are mitigating the risk by diversifying the API sources, improving cost efficiencies, and they're also obviously buffering up their inventory as well. Yes, AbbVie faces higher tariff risk with potential costs in the low hundreds of millions. Yeah, but this is a grim situation, honestly. In summary, AbbVie is ramping up the US manufacturing, pursuing cost control, advocating tax incentives to offset the tariff threat without raising the price on the customer. So again, same message from another CEO, Rob Michael, that government needs to take steps. They have already imposed a lot of tariffs, but they need to take more further steps to impose incentives and all uh, for the pharma companies. Now, Pascal from AstraZeneca um, just said that in 2024 they announced the major in November 2024. So that is basically the new administration even started before they started. They've already announced $3.5 billion in US manufacturing and R&D. And in March 2025, they invested 2.5 billion for a new R&D hub in Beijing. So basically, AstraZeneca is playing a balanced game to 3.5 billion in the US, 2.5 billion in the Beijing, basically. AstraZeneca may face a fine of up to 8 million in the China over suspected unpaid import taxes related to imports of breast cancer and HER2, basically. So again, US tariffs are manageable and it's very minor financial impacts on them. That could be because of their existing facilities, and um, a very major shift in terms of AstraZeneca could be seen that they are relocating some of their manufacturing plant from the Europe to the US to reduce tariff risk and maintain US market access. In a summary, AstraZeneca is restructuring its supply chain, boosting US investment to offset tariff impacts with leadership confident in strategy to support continued growth and financial goals despite tariff challenges, basically. So yes, that's about AstraZeneca. Now let's talk about. So I think we are left with three to four more companies. I'll summarize it a bit faster. Roche, second biggest investment. They will be investing $50 billion over 5 years to expand US manufacturing and R&D. Uh, they want to avoid 31% tariff on Swiss imports and US exports, basically. They are planning to create 12,000 new jobs in the EU. Some of the Roche's expansion include building new facility for obesity treatment, gene therapy, and then continuous US glucose monitoring devices, as well as new R&D centers and existing facilities in states such as Kentucky, New Jersey, and California will also be expanded. So they're not just building up new facilities, which I was telling you previously. They're not just building up new facilities, but they are also expanding their existing facilities, basically, in next 5 years down the line. So according to Thomas, or according to Thomas, the CEO of Roche, he says that we wouldn't be impacted by the tariffs. So that's a quote which is being given by them. Now let's talk about another top five major player, which is Novartis. So VAS, committed of $23 billion in next 5 years, plans to expand manufacturing facilities for existing site and establish a new R&D hub in the San Diego region. So that's something would be there. By 2027, the core margin expecting Novartis is expecting a core margin increase by 40% by 2027. Uh, so yeah, in a summary, Novartis is spending $23 billion in the US manufacturing and supply chain to avoid tariff risks. And they are very confident on their financial outlook for next few years for the US market. Another oncology big player, BMS, plans to invest $40 billion in the US R&D technology in next 5 years. Um, they have already increased their profit forecast for 2025 for the pharmaceuticals. BMS claims that they are very flexible and then they are very agile and then they can definitely shift a lot of their operations and manufacturings to the US to prevent any supply chain disruption. And they are confident that it's not going to impact much on them because they have been actively investing in the US and they are quite prepared for the tariffs risks already. Now, not just two, we will be talking about last two companies, which will be Eli Lilly and Sanofi. So Eli Lilly has announced to invest $27 billion in four US manufacturing plants in next 5 years. They will create 3,000 skilled jobs and 10,000 construction jobs, basically. Uh, Directly in response to the administration push of domestic production and threat of up to 25% tariffs on the imported drugs. So they were, they took this step based on that. So Dave also, said this about this that, and then this is something very good, which Eli Lilly has said. Um, and this resonates with the impact which we I was talking about earlier, that Eli Lilly has projected 3% cut in the R&D budget in 2025 because reduce increased cost associated with the tariff. And they are again, and this is following the 5% reduction in the previous US 2 years, basically. So in last 2 years also they reduced the R&D budget by 5%, and then further this year for 2025 they are reducing it by 3% more. So this, you can relate now with our insights which we have shared earlier, that this resonates here. Increased tariff leads to R&D cuts. Eli Lilly might not reciprocate or pass on these losses to the people, but they would definitely this would definitely impact their innovation strategy. So Rick, said that the company wants permanent lower US tax rates, especially a 15% rate for domestic production to encourage manufacturing in the US and compete low tax companies. So that is a message which is given by Dave to the US government. Now let's see what Paul Hudson says from Sanofi. So he says that our expected investment in the US will be substantial and will help ensure the production of key medicines in the US. So, they are investing $20 billion in the US over next 5 years and expanding manufacturing and R&D facilities, across the US. Will create significant number of jobs, increase US investment, and then this will be and to mitigate trade and pricing policy. So yeah, so in a summary, why we use these 10 companies and their statements. This all shows what we are trying to say, that these trades would definitely be self-reliant, would make US self-reliant, but also it is, for now it is going to produce a huge gap in the market. So there are definitely opportunities And if there are outside US companies who want to explore, want to assess the market, understand who all are the competition, uh, they can reach out to us. They can let us know. We can work out on their go to market strategy, understand the uh, market landscape of the US. So with this, I would sign off, and I hope you liked our this month's analysis and the impact of U.S. tariffs on the pharmaceutical industry. And yeah, do share your comments, your feedback as last time. And if you need access to this presentation and the sources which we have used, we'll be more than happy to share. You can reach out to me or Aditya, or you can just fill in the form, and we will share it with you on your email. So thank you so much. It was lovely interacting with you, and I look forward to talking to you with another topic next month. Uh, yeah, thank you. Bye bye.